Hello, hello. Welcome back to Is It Crazy or Is It God?
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on?
It's Faith
James.
and
Chicken,
James
chicken,
here.
chow. Right now, let me stop, man.
We're coming back to you with another podcast of
Yep.
Is It Crazy or Is It God? As oops, Siri is about to say
Cell
something.
phone out.
Yeah. Well, we just discussed what we read in the Bible this week. That's really all there is to it. We're
Yep.
not claiming to be experts or
Pastors.
pastors or anything like that. We're just regular people reading the Bible, and we welcome you to join us.
Was it regular smuggler degular?
I say regular degular.
Yeah, man.
yeah.
We do that, man. Okay. All right, we're
so
Christians
yeah,
living
so
in
come
the world,
on
man.
and join us. We just want to encourage everybody to come and read the Bible with us because we don't know what's in there either. Like, we know some stuff that's in there, but like, we don't know if our interpretations are correct or anything like that. So we just encourage everybody just to pick up your Bible and come and just read with us and tell us what you think too.
Yeah, man. Go on the journey together. That's what it's all about. It's about life lessons.
So yeah, so I guess we'll just get right on into it. I guess I should ask you how your week went, even though I know because I've been right here with you.
Yeah. Struggled this week, man.
Year number 212 in quarantine life.
Yeah.
No, it's all cool.
I struggled this week, man. Struggle, man. I just adopted new habits, and we both did actually. But as my wife Faith to tell you, I just like to sometimes go really extreme, and so this year I'm not drinking alcohol for a year, and I've started waking up earlier than I usually wake up. I usually just...
I can't see your face. Do you want to move this back over here so everybody can see how beautiful you are?
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could still hear you, right?
Yeah, like right here?
Yeah, just so we can see your face. Because, like, mine is off to the side here, so it's almost unfair.
Okay. All right. So maybe...
No, I mean, okay. I think it's fine. It doesn't matter if it's in the shot. It just matters that we can see your face and facial expressions.
Okay, yes. So I just been waking up early, and it's interesting when I just want to develop the habit of waking up early, say my affirmations, and say I connect with God in the morning. I work out, I pray, I meditate, but I'm trying to develop that into a lifestyle habit. Like, I don't want to, how people say, new year, new me. It's not. It's the same old me. I'm just trying to adjust my life.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to create new habits, and I want to start off with God in the morning. So that's fun. I've been tired all the time.
Yeah, how's that been going for you? You've been hitting it though. You've been doing everything you said you was gonna do. So.
Yeah. So it's just.
How do you feel at the end of it now that you showed up every day and you did what you said you were gonna do?
Man, I actually feel great. It's weird. I'm tired, but some spots of the day I have more energy. I feel better about myself too, right?
Yeah.
And since we started reading the Bible in the morning, and since I started like praying and meditating, well, I'm just seeing that I'm starting to listen, it's only been 5 days, but I'm noticing I'm just starting to let stuff go.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you get angry at myself for little things.
Yeah.
Oh man, I should have did that. I should have posted that or took a message. Just like, man, listen, you're living one day at a time.
Yeah, I want to go back and just quickly address something you said when you said it's only been 5 days. I want to remind you that you had attempted to do this several times last year and the year before. So it's only been 5 days straight, but this isn't something that is a foreign idea.
No.
It's not something that you just came up with in December. Like, this guy right here, he's a solid one, and he tried this a few times, and listen, I'm going to get there one day too, but I feel like I'll wake up early, but for my week, I probably got out of bed probably like 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Even though I'll be up earlier at 4, I'll be just doing other stuff, watching the news, looking at my phone, unfortunately. But I'll get up out of bed around like 6:30. So I just wanted to say that because it's like, I know you said it's only been 5 days, but it's not a new thing. That's all I wanted to just say.
A lot of
but yeah, no, I think you're doing great, and you're not for real. I think it's admirable, and it's good. I hope that you continue to do it because it's also affecting me in a way where it's like, yeah, I need to do that too. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though I'm not there with you yet, I know that's what I'm striving to do. So it's like you're leading the way, and I'm like, it inspires me. So I hope you keep going. I know you're going to keep going, but I hope to do everything that I could.
This is why I need God in my life, guys.
Oh, Lord.
I was about to say, bands make them dance.
Okay, so thank you for joining. Is it crazy or is it God?
Crazy or is it God? I need to pray.
Brought to you by trap music.
That's why we're reading the Bible every day.
Okay. I'll tell you how my week was. All right, well, that was great. I appreciate that. And my week was similar. I've learned so much about myself this week, and I've really been focused recently on self-care as far as on a bunch of different aspects, like mentally, emotionally, and really God can take care of us, but you have to take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, you even have to ask God. You know what I mean? Like, He knows what's best for you, but He even says in the Bible, bring your requests. Bring your requests to Him. So it's like you kind of have to learn and know yourself, and even to be able to build better habits, you kind of have to really get in there and know and love yourself. So that's what I've been trying to do on a level of, like, one of the things that I like to say is, like, one of the parts of self-care is taking care of your senses, right? Looking forward to different things, like thinking your 5 senses: taste, smell, sound. So I look forward to stuff for all of that stuff. So I have those little fidgety toys at my desk, and I'll be just thinking and using those as kind of like tactical touch. Taste, I'll be looking forward to that smoothie.
Smoothies is a good,
And then sound, I'll listen to soft jazz or something that I don't have to decipher the words or whatever, but something pleasant. Smell, I'll burn a candle, or I'll do the diffuser for aromatherapy. And that's also visually appealing. Also, shout out to Adam, James's brother. He got us this for Christmas. It's an alarm clock, but it's a source of. It's obviously a device, but it looks like natural light. And I've just been enamored with that thing because it's just so amazing. And as far as sound, so James did this funny thing with the alarm, where we've been waking up to this song, which I'm not even gonna say what song it is, but it's motivating, and I catch myself. Whereas before I would have wanted to snooze, especially those first 2 days of the week. I was like, yo, I need to get up because I'm not going to get into the habit of ignoring this song. This is amazing. So I was like, so that was good. So my week has been going good. I'm just trying to give myself some grace and just know that it's a journey. And like you, I'm trying to build some habits, and I've been doing good. So anyway, this week,
this is another habit we started, guys. So we read the Bible this week.
Yes.
Huge.
We've been trying to do this. I mean, we've been doing it on and off and individually. But as far as the structured format that we agreed on 4 years ago, we are finally getting it together, and we showed up this week, and so that's
high five, man.
High five. Yes.
Great, man.
So
for 4 days straight.
I guess you'll see more of this in the pilot video, but I guess we do have to explain a little bit about the background on that. So we started out wanting to read the Bible in a year. We wanted to read the full Bible all the way through, and we're not reading it from cover to cover. We are reading Genesis, but we're on a Bible reading plan that we got from the internet. And I'll talk about that later and link some stuff below. But yeah, we wanted to read the Bible together in the first year of our marriage. Now we're in what, year 4? I don't know. We wanted to read the Bible together, and we were kind of doing it inconsistently. So we're we need a sense of accountability. So we were waking up early. We were like, you know what? Let's discuss it. Let's discuss it, and let's film it. Because that way, if you don't, there's a consequence. If you don't wake up and do the reading, you won't be able to discuss it. So let's center our accountability around coming together and discussing what we read that week. And so we started out calling it Bible Talk, but then we recognized there was somebody out there with a platform named Bible Talk So, but I don't even think they were active recently when we did it, but it was fine. It's okay. We're not gonna. And so we always have this term that we say to each other, oh, that's crazy. And then the other one would be like, is it crazy or is it God?
Yeah.
And so James, you had said something about how when it relates to the Bible, is it crazy or is it God?
Yeah.
How many things be happening in the Bible that still happen? Go ahead.
How many things that happened to the? I think we were in our
marriage counseling
session. I don't know who said it first. It might have been you, I think. But it was just like, because at first it's supposed to be Bible talk, and then we kept saying this saying over and over and over again.
We've been saying that
for a while.
Like, is it crazy? Is it God? We've been saying that saying because one of us will be like, oh man, that's crazy. Oh, let me tell you what happened. That's crazy. And then the other one will be like, is it crazy? So then we start,
Yeah, so it came to a point where we were like, okay, we should. This is how God works because it's so funny. It was Bible talk. And then we were like, because we wanted to
talk about the Bible. That's it.
On a podcast, which I think people would like that, right? Just go on a journey and let's talk about the Bible. Like my wife said, we're not pastors or priests. We're regular people just like you. Like, hey man, let's just try to read it and try to just interpret it ourselves, and then we can go on this journey together. But is it crazy or is it God? It was right after Bible talk, and then I was like, man, it would be interesting if we, instead of calling it Bible talk, we would call it, is it crazy or is it God? Nah. Well, yeah, I'm going to ask Faith. And then he was like, that's a genius idea. And then it's the hashtag IICIG came about. But maybe that was God saying, no, not Bible talk.
Right.
Let people, because the whole premise of the saying is you think what you're going through hasn't been already, somebody hasn't already went through your situation that's a relative in the Bible, and they have. So you think it's crazy. But is it? Or is it God showing you the way to him? So that's what it came about.
That's really cool. I'm glad you talked about it that way.
Yeah.
So this week we went into Genesis as a part of our reading plan. It kind of breaks it down week to week, and it started out with Genesis 1 through 3, then 4 through 7, then 8 through 11, and then we kind of went into Job a little bit, but we're not going to go into that in this episode. We're just going to stick with Genesis 1 through 11.
Yep.
And this is just our thoughts, our questions, our reactions to what we see is happening in Genesis, and just some things that you might thought about too if you were reading it, or when you do read it, you might think these things. So, do you want to start and jump in, or do you want me to start?
Okay, man, I can start.
Okay.
So we started with Genesis 1 through 3, and that is the basics. Not basic. It's the high level of how God created the heavens and the earth. Right? So 1 through 3 is how. No, it's okay. 1 through 3 is basically how everything happened, right? We're talking about God said, let there be light, to the Garden of Eden, to the animals, to the firmament. But it's so chapter 1 is the not the basic. I'm not calling God's creation of earth basic. I'm just saying everybody knows in Genesis 1 that's when God created the heavens and the earth. And that's what you get in 1 and chapter 2. I think chapter 2 he creates man. So, yes. What do you got from chapter 1 through 3? Well, 3 gets deep, but...
Yeah, it does. I mean, okay, so there's a couple of deep things I actually took out of the beginning. Or really not even deep, but just kind of questions to ponder. So everybody says the first part of the Bible is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Also, I want to mention this real quick because this is interesting. As we're reading from 2 different versions of the Bible, right? Because we're going to switch it up too. I don't plan on being just married to one version because I like to do that with my memory verse, looking at different versions to kind of see what I can get from it. Yeah. But I'm reading the Amplified version and James is reading the
King James version.
That's the New King James version.
New King James version.
So as we were reading together this week, I noticed just kind of you would be reading out loud and I would be reading on mine, and it was some things that kind of came up that I was like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? It says it like that in there, but it says it like this in here. So I'm reading the Amplified version, the Joyce Myers. But anyway, so I only saying that because in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. But in my Amplified version, it says God created by forming from nothing the heavens and the earth.
Yeah.
And the Spirit of God was moving and hovering. He started talking about, and in the Amplified version, this is the first thing that caught my attention, is it says something about an expanse. God said, let there be an expanse of the sky in the midst of the waters, and let the water separate below from the expanse of the water. So I had to look up the word expanse. Firmament, right? Firmament, which is another, I guess, word for expanse, because that's what I have right here too. So I had to look it up. It's a great extent of something spread out, or presenting a wide continuous surface. So I got that from Merriam-Webster and from Google. That was the second thing. But I think that was interesting because I was like, he's creating space. He's creating a wide surface. It's like he's creating it, but you know what I'm saying? It's separated.
Yeah.
So I had to look that up because it actually comes back when we talk about the Babylonians. But the things I got from or takeaways from this were in the beginning when he was saying he made this and then he saw it was good, and then it's like he confirmed and sustained it. It's like he created these things and then, or these expanses, because you can't even point to some of these things that God created, right? But he created and then he stopped to say, okay, that's good. And so he made us in his image. So a lot of the things that he did, I'm looking at how we sort of like do things in our modern day that are just natural to us. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that. You create something and then you're like, okay, that's good, and keep it type of thing, right? Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. I mean, I know that's like a long-winded version. The next thing is like when he filled the waters and he created all the sea monsters and every living creature that moves, every winged bird, yada yada, right? And then it says, and God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, right? So he gave that same commandment, right? He gave that same instruction to animals, right? And he also gave that same instruction to humans.
Yes.
So we're going to get into that a little bit later, but it's kind of interesting to me that one point is like, oh, he said that a couple times. And that's the interesting thing about reading out loud too, is because sometimes if you're reading silently, you can read a whole page and get to the bottom of the page and be like, what did I read?
Yeah.
But when you're reading out loud and you're forced to say something out loud, you're reading with more than one of your sort of like tools. So not only am I reading it with my eyes and understanding with my brain, but I'm hearing it with my ears. So when I'm saying something again, I can hear that. So I thought that was interesting that he gave the same instructions to the earth and the things of the earth that he did, you know, to the human. So, and then he talks about the tree of knowledge.
Yes.
Okay, so you want to go into the whole Adam and Earth? So go ahead.
Right. So we were reading it, and I took some notes. Everybody talks about the tree of knowledge, but in the Bible, it also was a tree of life.
And they're separate trees.
Separate trees.
And so that's what we read, right? That's what we interpreted. So it's like a tree.
In both versions, right?
Okay, yeah. That's what we picked up. And I guess what I had thought before was that it was the same tree or something like that, right?
Because just the tree of knowledge.
So let me specifically point to the verse so that we're not.
I just thought it was just the tree of knowledge because that's the one that went viral.
So Genesis 2 is 2:8, and the Lord God planted a garden in the east in Eden, and he put the man whom he had formed there. And so it's 9. I'm sorry, 9. And the Lord God caused to grow from the ground every tree that is desirable and pleasing to the sight and good for food. The tree of life was also in the midst of the garden. Okay, so now we're talking about the tree of life.
Yep.
and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So it says and.
Yeah.
So the tree of life
so there's
and
two different
the
trees,
tree
guys.
of knowledge. So that was something I thought was interesting.
I said this, I'm going to say it. The tree of knowledge went viral. That's the one that everybody talks about because that's the one that
Eve ate from.
Caused everything that we're going through today.
Or
right?
that's just Eve, yeah.
Right? So it's just funny that the tree of life was there also. I just thought that was very interesting.
So I wanted to say this in the right way because he cultivated him into the garden, and then he told him, God talking to Adam, saying, you may freely eat from every tree of the garden, but only from this tree you shall not eat. Right?
So they could have ate from the tree of life.
Because you certainly shall die. Say again? They could have. I mean, maybe they were eating from the tree of life. You see how I'm saying? Because it's like, maybe they were eating from the tree of life, and that was fine because God didn't instruct them. We don't know, because I don't know if it says that in here, but it says,
very interesting.
Well, from what it says, right? And then, okay, here's another thing that I didn't even mention to you when we were reading it, but I thought it was interesting that God gave the direction to the man before Eve had even been created.
Interesting.
So God told man, okay, check this out.
Don't eat from here.
Don't eat from here. You can eat from anything else. Over the land, all that stuff. Then he says in Genesis 2:18, he says, it's not good for man to be alone. I'll make him a helper. A counterpart who's suitable and complementary for him. So he formed out of the ground, right? Okay. He caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, took one of his ribs, so that means he had to sacrifice, and he presented her to the man, which I also thought was very interesting because I was like, there's something about that to a woman that just seems a certain way. It's just like being presented. And I mean, we all present ourselves for the day. You're not going to show up to a meeting looking crazy, right?
Yeah,
we present ourselves. So, but he presented her to the man almost as like a prize. You know what I mean? I don't want to go too far as that because I don't want to get offensive or whatever, but now, then we get into the part where the man and his wife, and now I'm at Genesis 25, man and his wife were naked and they were not ashamed or embarrassed.
Yeah.
Right?
They didn't know.
Okay. Now we get into Genesis 3.
It's the big one. This is the big one right here.
Where the serpent and the Eve are chopping it up, which already...
Yeah.
But see, okay, so I'm not going to get into too far to what is not in the Bible.
Yeah.
But I have a picture of these things when I'm reading them. Like I set the scene and I'm like, okay, this is how this is going down. You know what I mean? So it says in my version, the serpent Satan. So it actually says that the serpent was Satan. I don't know if that was something that
it said
was in your version.
It just says the serpent.
Okay, so mine says the serpent Satan. So that this is why you should pay attention to which version you're reading, because some of the versions are adding in words to help it to be understandable, but maybe kind of at some points could possibly be taken out of context depending on who's reading it, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I definitely think the serpent was Satan.
Yeah.
Right, but I just was thinking about how like it's different words.
Just walks the earth causing trouble.
So he goes along to Eve and says, you shouldn't eat from any tree of the garden. Shall you not eat from any tree of the garden? And the woman said to him, we may eat fruit from the trees of the garden, except the fruit from the tree which is in the middle of the garden.
Yeah.
Okay. So, here's the thing. This is why I made the point about God giving the instruction to Adam before Eve was created. Because I don't know, I guess I could be assuming, but because it doesn't really say it in here.
Assuming the serpent knew that and went right to Eve?
No, obviously she knew, but how does she know? Because her husband let her know.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the garden.
Don't eat from
Don't eat from this tree.
Right.
Right? I'm assuming that. It doesn't say who told her. Yeah. God could have told her. But I think it's interesting because later when we get into this, I think what happened was when God was walking through, right? Adam spoke.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, let's just move along because I don't want to miss. Did you have something to say about that? About the serpent and the whole encounter with...
What I noticed is The serpent was walking too. In my
Oh, really?
version. Yeah, I don't think he was on the ground like snakes are, because remember, God said, "Every you on your belly you should go."
Okay, so you're interpreting that to mean that he wasn't on his belly to begin with.
I don't think so.
So
Yeah.
that you don't think so, but I don't know if we know that for sure.
I don't know if I know that for sure.
But hey, look, this is your interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But that's a really good, interesting point. Because we know that when they did end up eating from the tree, right? So now, so obviously the serpent went and convinced the lady, oh, you won't die, the lady, Eve. Oh, you certainly will not die, is what he told her.
Yeah.
So, God just knows that on the day you eat from the tree, your eyes will be opened and you'll have a greater awareness and you will be like God, knowing the difference between good and evil. So here's my point about this, right? Here she goes, listen to the serpent. And I'm assuming that was the first lie that was ever told.
It was.
Because some of us get into this where it's like, oh, so-and-so told me, or I saw it here, or I heard it there. So we're just going to take it for truth. But it's like, you can't just be listening to things and people like that. If you have a definite, you know what I'm saying, instruction from God, you can't just be going around listening to whoever else, right? So she learned that there. She may not have known what a lie was, but anyway, she knew that she wasn't supposed to be doing.
She knew she wasn't supposed to eat the fruit. She did.
Yeah.
But she was lied to, and that's who Satan is the principalities, right?
Yeah. So okay, so she saw. This is a crazy part for me too. This is after he was like, "You can eat from that tree." The serpent was, and she said, "Well, she saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delightful to look at." Right. She took some of his fruit and ate it, and she also gave some to eat with her to Adam. Then the eyes of the two of them were open, and they knew that they were naked.
Yeah.
Now, then they fastened together figs and leaves and make themselves coverings.
Yes.
Do you want to speak on that, or do you want me to tell you what I was thinking about that?
So what that tells me is that we're still doing this today, right? So when the serpent said, "Eat it and you'll be like him," that was intriguing. Adam and Eve ate it. Once they did, their eyes were opened, which means we're still doing it to this day. And when I say that, I mean we're always looking for more knowledge.
Right.
More. When I think it's a profound thing when it says their eyes were opened, because now it's like they're seeing how the world is. I'm naked, right? Now they're ashamed.
Right.
Now their eyes are open. They're like, oh,
right.
I need to cover. And it's like, well, how do you know? Why are you ashamed now?
Right. And
you know,
here's what I thought about that. Now you're focused on what is it? Weaving together.
Yeah.
Fig coverings, fasting fig coverings living together. And that's not even what God told you to do. You're supposed to be being fruitful and multiplying and not eating from the tree. And now you're all over here fasting leaves together. So it's like that. I mean, that's cool or whatever, but it's like now you're focused on something else other than what you have been instructed to do. That kind of was an interesting takeaway for me.
And then God, of course, God knew.
Okay, yes. So this is you. I want you to talk about that.
So like, as soon as he was like, so first of all, we have to understand how profound this is, where God is walking around.
Right.
Right. This has to be a cool thing. So, and look how aware they are. They heard a sound.
Right. And this is in Genesis 3:8.
3:8. They heard a sound, and it was like, oh, God's coming. So not only were they ashamed to be naked, they knew they did wrong because they hid from him. Right.
I was afraid because I was naked.
Yeah.
So was like, that? I wonder if that was a lie. I'm not trying to go too far into that, but it's
No, he was
you were afraid because you were naked. I made you naked.
Yeah.
Was that the truth?
Yeah, he was like, where are you? I was afraid because I hid myself. Who told you were naked?
That's so funny.
That gets to it right now. That's like your parents.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I remember my mother distinctly asking me those questions before, like, who told you that? Whenever I would say something wilder, I didn't even know it was wild when I was younger. It's like a kid trying to lie or something, and your parent is like, who told you that? Or where did you get that from? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they heard God, and they hid themselves. They were naked, but they knew they were not supposed to eat from the fruit. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. They were not supposed to.
From the tree.
The tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah.
So now they know. They know. See, now they know the difference between good and evil.
Right. So and now they're scared. Now they're naked and afraid.
They're naked and afraid. Because your mom, listen, don't eat this cookie or don't drink this last Coke. You do it. Where are you at? Why are you hiding?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I kind of got from it. Why are you hiding?
Yeah.
Where's the last Coke at? I was at work.
That was something you heard.
Oh man, my grandma don't play around, man.
Oh my God.
God versus soul. So then it's like, so where are you? You know? Oh, I hid because I was naked. Who told you that? Who told you were naked? And then now it goes. Now we have to. Now I need to know the truth.
Yeah, so going into that next part, in Genesis 3:11, God said, who told you were naked? Have you eaten fruit from the tree, which I commanded you not to eat? Right? And then Adam snitches on Eve. No, he stopped. He said, the woman whom you gave me to be with gave me the fruit from the tree and I ate it. So yeah, we still recording now.
Okay, good. Sorry, guys. Anyway.
Yeah, we're amateurs, so you're going to get some of that.
I like seeing myself on the screen.
Oh, Lord. So we were at the part where Adam snitched on Eve and said, of course, I mean, I'm just making that joke. I'm making light of it. But, yeah.
We snitched. You dropped it. Go ahead. It's okay.
And then he looked at her and said, is this what you've done? Right? Yeah. And then she did the same thing. Oh, the serpent deceived me. Right? And I ate from the forbidden tree. Yeah. So that's when you said, the Lord said to the serpent, because you've done this, you're cursed more than all the cattle, and on your belly you shall go. Yeah. Okay, so I see what you mean.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Where's yours? Okay, so it says, this was the part where you were saying where after Eve admitted that she did get the information from, she was deceived by the serpent, God then went to the serpent and said, because you've done this, you cursed him on the cattle, on your belly you shall go, which we interpret to mean he wasn't already on his belly.
Yeah, that's
right. So because on your belly you should go, right? So did you want to just touch on that real quick? Because I think we might have missed that part.
Yeah. So keywords, it says
you were down there too.
Right. So in the Holmen Study Bible, it does say Satan, but as the serpent. But I probably learned this from all the pastors in the world. Shout out Pastor Pope. But anyway, so you have to pay attention to keywords in the Bible. So and keywords in life as well too. So when it says on your belly you should go, I'm interpreting it as, was he on his belly before? Because if he was, it wouldn't say. Maybe it would, but I just feel like because he done this, it says you should go on your belly. So I'm thinking maybe, I don't know. Listen, guys, this is just my opinion. I don't know what it looked like. I don't know, but I think it could have been. I don't know if it was on all fours or on twos but I think it could have not been on his belly before.
Yeah, because the way I'm looking at it is this. We can only pick up from the context clues of the words. Yeah. And that's why we're reading it. It's not like we have to be right about every single thing. Like we said, we're not experts, but it's for you to interpret yourself. You should go and read Genesis and come up, with your own interpretation of it. But it's like if it says on your belly you shall go. Yeah. It's like, well, you must not have been there before because you're going there. Yeah. Right? So, okay, so here we go with that part. After he told the serpent, after the Lord God said to the serpent, because if you've done this to your Christmas little cattle, on your belly you shall go. He also handed out some other punishments or some consequences, rather.
Yeah.
Right? To the woman, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth, and your husband will rule with authority over you and be responsible for you. And then to Adam, because you've listened to the voice of your wife and disagree and went against my commandment, the ground is now under curse, and sorrow and toil shall be the days of your life, because you have to work with the earth, so it's going to be hard work, right?
Yeah.
Thorns and thistles it'll grow for you. And yeah, so, and it says something interesting here in 3:19. For from it until you okay, by the sweat of your face you will eat bread until you return to the ground. From it you were taken, for you are dust, and to dust you shall return. So that kind of goes back into that tree of life thing. I don't know if that meant that now man will expire.
I think so.
Right? I don't know what that meant. It's just interesting to me. 3:19.
Yeah, so I think that's like from the saying, ash to ash, dust to dust, right? Yeah. I think we were meant to go. We were brought from the ground, and now when we die, you should go right back into it. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
Right? You know, even if it's a body that, if you're buried, right, you can bury it in the ground.
Yeah.
If you
get cremated,
it's dust.
Mm-hmm.
If even if you see, I don't want to say it like this, an animal, or the body decomposes on the ground, so it doesn't matter. You're gonna go to the ground.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so let's move right along here.
Number 4, or
so
I do want to talk about one more thing.
Yeah, I know what you want to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is the funny thing, right? So now that we know there's a tree of life in the Garden of Eden that Adam and Eve could have eaten, which could have given them. This is before Jesus, guys, so it could have given them eternal life. We don't know that. We just know that there was a tree of life, and God said, it doesn't matter if you eat, just don't eat from the good of evil.
The tree of good and evil,
the tree
right?
Of good and evil.
Right.
And then in this one, right, we're at chapter 3, verse 24. So now, because man has done that, he drove them out of the Garden of Eden. And he says he placed a cherubim at the east of the garden and a flaming sword and everywhere to guard the tree of life. So my interpretation of that is, I think that the tree of life is exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It probably gives life.
Exactly what it sounds like, right?
Yeah, you might be old and you eat it, and you might be Benjamin Buttons, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if he has a cherubim, which I think is I looked up the images. It's a lot of images, but I know that it's interesting that he picked that to guard it. Which I'm thinking the tree of life is, she said, like my wife said, very literal. I think it gives you life. And Adam and Eve don't have access to that anymore because they committed the first sin and ate from the tree of good and evil.
Yeah.
Now you have to leave.
Now God drove the man out.
I can't keep you in.
Yeah. You gotta go, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move along to where Adam and Eve gave birth to their first two, or we don't know if the first two, anyway.
Yeah, it was.
It's just like, she conceived and gave birth to Cain and said, I have obtained a man, boy, son, with the help of the Lord. So she basically knew that, oh, look, God gave me a baby.
Yeah.
Right? That's really cool. And obviously it says Adam knew Eve as his wife. right? So we all know that. We don't all know that, but I know it's been explained to me that when you see that in the Bible, that a man and a woman knew each other, then they obviously we know what they was doing. Yeah. So yeah, basically, she knew. Look, God gave us a baby, you know. So it was Cain and Abel. Abel was
The younger brother.
The younger brother. Cain was the older brother. Yeah, because he gave birth to Cain. She gave birth to Cain, and she said, "I've obtained a man with the help of the Lord, baby boy." And later, she gave birth to his brother Abel. That's what it says.
Okay.
Now, Abel kept the flocks of sheep and goats, but Cain cultivated the ground. Okay, you go ahead and continue with that.
All right, so
where the offering? Are we talking about the offering?
Yeah.
Okay.
So now that Cain brought an offering to the Lord, right? So Cain offered fruit to the Lord, and because Cain was like a gardener, he was tilling the ground. He kept, I'm assuming, all the fruits, vegetables, everything. So he brought fruit. Abel was a shepherd, the keeper of the sheep. He brought God the firstborn and their fat, right?
He brought the firstborn of his flock and the fat portion.
And the fat portion.
As right? An offering to God.
Yep. And the Lord respected Abel, but the funny thing is he did not respect Cain's offering. So what did Cain offer? What did he just give him?
What did he offer? Right.
What did he offer for the Lord not to respect?
So he says he made an offering of fruit, but maybe it wasn't his first fruit. Because like if you look at the words, it's like Abel brought his finest, firstborn. So mine says finest, but that's in brackets. So firstborn of his flock. Yep. So that means this is the one right here, right? Baby. It's the best one I got. And then that means that Abel just says he brought some fruit, right? Here's some more bananas. I don't know, but it's just kind of like we don't know that it was the first because it doesn't say that like it says it was Abel's offering,
and it says the Lord did not respect it.
So the Lord didn't respect it,
which means that if Cain would have brought the best that he could have, the Lord would have.
Yeah. So then Cain becomes extremely angry and looks annoyed and hostile.
Yep.
And I thought that was interesting. So then let's move right along. Go ahead.
So this was about. So this is a major thing with me is Cain got so angry that he killed his brother. Now here's the thing about this, right? Anger leads to all other different emotions. He got angry and then became jealous. But his first thing was he was angry. And that's what I got from this. If you become angry, it can lead you into so many different directions that you don't even mean to go.
Yeah, it can. And now you've used your emotions to navigate.
Yep.
And now you find yourself in a situation where now you're lying to God. Okay, because I'll just go back into that. Yeah, he got angry. He killed his brother. Yeah. God comes and says, "Where is Abel, your brother?" Yeah. And he told God, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" So now he's standing there lying to God, like God don't know, and God has to tell him, right? Like
I know
your blood. The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Like I know everything, Cain. Don't you do that?
I know.
So then here we go. So then he goes and proceeds to provide consequences for Cain's actions. And Cain says to God, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." So you go from lying, right? You go from being angry, feeling like your offer was rejected, going and turning that into jealousy, killing your own brother. And then when God confronts you about it, then you turn into a liar, indignant liar. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I would have got popped in the mouth if I told my mother something like that.
Yeah.
And my sister's keeper. Like, you know what I'm saying? I know it's not. What are you doing here? But it's just like, what are you talking about? So then once God has to tell Cain, "Look, I already know. And so now I know you lied to me," right? He didn't say that. But I'm just saying, once he tells Cain that he already knows, then he proceeds to punish Cain, and Cain is like, "Oh, but I can't take that. Now you're a liar. You're angry. You're sensitive. Like, what's going on here?" But what I notice is a theme, right? Because we saw that this happen in order to the serpent, then to Eve and Adam. They got their punishments based off of their sort of like disobedience to God.
Yeah.
And so Cain goes and does this thing, and then he lies to God, and then he gets punished. And Cain was banned. Right, and then wasn't he banned? He was exiled from where they were at, from their land, and then he was like something scared that he was gonna get killed.
Yeah, he said, "Don't ban me."
So
he said this. He said, "Surely the punishment was, now you're cursed from the earth, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall no longer yield strength to you. A fugitive and vagabond you shall be." He said, "No, it's too. I can't bear it. Can't bear it."
Yeah.
He was like, "Okay. So if you can't bear it," he was like, "people are gonna kill me." He said, "Whoever kills Cain, vengeance should be taken on him sevenfold." So it's like, okay, listen.
Right. So he protected him, even though he had sinned.
Well, yeah.
Which is
like,
just the love of God.
Right. If somebody kills you, my punishment unto you will be sevenfold.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just move along here.
Yeah.
So Cain left. He had a wife, and he.
Yeah, they just starts talking about the. I think they're just talking about the.
Yeah. So this is where we get into this long generational.
Yep. Breaks it down.
Is that where this is? Yeah.
Yep.
So in this part is where it breaks down whose father was who. Enoch was born to Irad and became the father of Melchizedek, right? And then it says how many years they lived. So basically it says who their parents were, right? And then who they gave birth to, who their offspring was, and then how long it was from the time that they
it's just like a family tree.
They gave birth or whatever to the time they died. And this was hundreds and hundreds of years. So we're seeing a lot of people live 800 something years, 900 years. So they were 70 years old when they would have a kid, and then they would live 800 years after that, right? Or 65 when they had a kid and lived 800 years after that. So all these people, and then we come across. Okay, now here's the thing. We have the first Enoch, who Cain conceived. But then later, all the way down the lineage, we have another Enoch, right?
Yeah.
Who walked in habitual fellowship with God for 300 years after the birth of his son.
Years.
Right. 365 years.
Yeah.
Wait. Enoch was 65 years old and became, right. He walked it as he became the father of Methuselah. I don't know if I'm saying that right. He walked with God for 300 years, and then instead of passing away,
gotcha,
God took him. And the reason we know that is because his body wasn't found, so God took him.
Yeah.
Because he walked with God.
Yes. So he did. So when I looked this up, we encourage you to look it up on your own. But
yes,
when they say he didn't walk with God, he wasn't. Walking next to God. It was, he lived a life that he probably worshipped God. He woke up, prayed, wasn't worried about money. His whole life was revolved around God, and I think that's why he was like, okay, I'm taking you.
Yeah.
Because of his daily habits and practices all leads toward God.
Yeah, I was just highlighting something, but absolutely. And so that's what we would aspire to be, right? Like Jesus, like Enoch, and just be obedient and walking with God. So I'm just moving along here because I know we're pretty talkative. So
yeah, I think the next one we have to go to is,
I want to go to Genesis 6.
Yeah. Okay,
because actually, so in Genesis, at the end of Genesis 5, Noah is born. And after Noah's 500 years old when he became a father of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay, so here's what happened. I don't say everybody followed the word of God, but I'm saying that they were fruitful and they multiplied, right? So that they did that part. But as men would choose their as men husbands would choose their wives, there's a lot of corruption that starts to happen in the earth. And so in Genesis 6:5, they go into how the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every imagination or intent of the thoughts of his heart were only evil continually. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
The Lord regretted that he had made mankind on earth, and he was deeply grieved in his heart.
Yeah, I think it was just wickedness.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's what we do. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Like,
think it came from, unfortunately, I think it
came from that Eve joint.
Maybe Cain. How angry he was.
That would have, yeah, perhaps.
Maybe that's a trait, or
Yeah.
I think man's just evil, man. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
Sometimes not even the devil. I think it's just men. It's just men, the wickedness of men. It says it right here. It doesn't say the devil.
So here's what's interesting. God said he's going to destroy mankind. And because it deeply grieves him to see all of the sin that's happening. Because he regretted that he made mankind. But he showed Noah favor, and we kind of know the story of Noah's Ark, where he was told, he was instructed by God to build an ark, Noah was, and to take 2 of every animal onto the ark.
Yep.
So in chapter 6 and 7,
talk about the building, I think,
go through the whole instruction, the breakdown of cubits, how he was to build the ark and all these things, and bring the animals on, and and food for them. But I also thought it was interesting that he destroyed all the animals too on the earth, except the ones that came into the ark. And I was thinking to myself, like, were they disobedient, or it's just the tree of life? It's like, I mean, that's a tree of life. It's just a cycle of life. It's just like, yeah, he just reset it. Okay, here's the thing. We're gonna skip through this part because we really encourage you to go and read it for yourself. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. About Noah's Ark.
Ark, and how God made it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, and how he describes how there was no deep sea, and there was, you know what I'm saying? Because the earth was flooded, the mountaintops were covered.
Yeah. Can y'all imagine? Mount Everest is flooded with water, and not only this, so it wasn't just rain coming down. I believe he said the bottom opened up, so it was flooding from both. And we're gonna end at this. Well, not end at this, but the Noah's Ark. The ark was underwater for 150 days. That's a long time, man.
No, the ark was.
I mean, not the world. Yeah, the waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. That's
yeah. It says in mine 5 months, which I don't know if the days and the dates were. I mean, I guess they were the same.
That's 5 months.
Because there were certain parts in this where they were talking about how on the 2nd day of the 2nd month or something like this, right? On the 11th day of the 5th month, they were getting specific about things, and I was like, are we talking about the same months that we still have, like February, March? You know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know either.
I think they went by the moon.
Yeah, but don't we still go by the moon? So these are questions that
I don't know.
And then, I mean, now we got daylight savings time. I don't think they have daylight savings time.
I don't think they have it like that.
So I'm just like, what is really going on?
5 months is a long time.
I just thought it was really interesting, the numbers, right? The numbers about surrounding the number of the month, or the number of days that it was 150 days the waters covered the earth. And then later in chapter 8, verse 3, it says, at the end of 150 days, the waters had diminished. So is that just referencing the waters covering it, or is that when it was drying? Because it was like the waters receded. So I'm like, okay, because then it goes into how they were on the ark for a year and some change. I think it said. Anyway, like I always say, please don't take my word for it. You go to the source and you read for yourself. But we're just fascinated by all of the details, and then just the realness of of Noah having to showing his obedience and doing exactly what God said, and how crazy I'm sure he looked and sounded building an ark, but he just didn't care. He was just going by what he knew God instructed him to do. And it worked, because if he had just been like, no, I don't think I want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, he would have been wiped out too. But so he was obedient, and that was really good. So then, okay, so here's where we go to we're probably going to end it here, because we just want to end with Genesis 11. And so right at Genesis 9, where they got off the ark.
Yeah.
In Genesis 8.
Let me ask you this quick question. Two things. So 8, it says that God said, "Thank you, the burnt offerings." He said He'll never curse the ground for man's sake.
Oh yeah.
But He also says, while the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, winter and summer, and day and night shall not cease. So it's like, I'm going to keep the seasons going no matter what. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. And then, I don't know where it's at. Did I write it down?
The rainbow part?
Yeah.
I feel like I wrote it down, but...
It's in Genesis 8.
It's Genesis 9. It's in Genesis 9. Am I right about that?
Yeah. There it is. Genesis 9:13.
Okay.
So this is in the Bible, and nobody ever talks about where rainbows come from, but in the Bible it says, "My rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." Every time it rains, I see a rainbow.
I don't see a rainbow.
Not every time.
Every time you see, right.
Every time I see a rainbow,
it rains.
It rained.
Right.
There you go, guys. Sorry, sometimes I talk
Well, even if that wasn't the case,
yeah.
Even if you saw a rainbow and it hadn't rained, maybe it's about to rain or whatever, it's saying here, his rainbow in the clouds is a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. So that's what God, and it's so crazy because you can't just make a rainbow. You can't just make right? It's that. So maybe that's why rainbows are always just so happy to me.
They're happy, and they're like, they think about it. It's a rainbow is the colors of a rainbow is every color spectrum, and it's basically God saying, "This is an agreement that I will never totally flood the earth again." I'm not talking about tornadoes or hurricanes. Those are natural disasters that come with the heat, the day, the night, the cold, the summer. Right? That's comes winter, summer, cold, and heat. That's what comes from that, right? But we're talking about the entire earth. He says no. You know, so that's a great thing. You know.
No, this is cool.
Yeah.
So then we get into so they've come off of the ark and they're starting to cultivate the ground and all this. Noah.
Probably so interesting what the earth looks like after that. You know.
I mean, it's got to be just the most fertile of soil.
Yeah, it has to be.
Right? It's just been soaked.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like all of the, I mean, you could probably, I'm just making this stuff up, but it's just like you could probably grow something in record timing. Yeah. Right now, it's like it takes you a while to grow. You know how quickly grass grows, right? Like sometimes it could grow like even overnight, you can tell the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know that plants have ever food has ever grown that quickly, but it's just kind of like I'll even notice that with the cornfields sometimes by over where my mom stays. It's like, and maybe it's just me not noticing it, but I'll see it and it's low, and I feel like weeks later I'll come back and it's like high and I can't even see. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting the way, and the way that we just know that it's going to work. There's never any, you know what I'm saying? Oh, just plant something and it'll grow. Yeah. The world, the earth is just so amazing. But okay.
All right.
So Noah had planted a vineyard, and he.
Yeah. What are we, chapter 10?
I'm in chapter 9 still.
Okay.
I'm in 9:21. He drank some of the wine and became drunk.
Yeah.
And he was uncovered and lay exposed inside his tent.
Right.
His son Ham saw that his dad was naked, and he went and told his brothers outside, I guess like jokingly or something like that or whatever. Yeah. But the other two, his brothers, took a robe and they walked it back and covered their father up, and they with their faces turned away. And so when Noah woke up and he knew somehow that his younger son had gone and talked about him because he was naked and drunk, and he cursed him to be a servant of his brothers.
Yep.
So, and it says Noah lived 350 years after the flood. All his days were 950 years and he died.
Yes.
So then we go into reading the records of generations.
Yeah.
So all these words that I can't pronounce.
Yeah.
All these places, but some of them are familiar to me and still exist. Some of them I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Or if they're named something else now.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. So we're just getting into that. Did you have something you want to say?
Yeah. So they break up. All three sons break up, and they go create their own. I don't even want to say tribes. I want to say nations.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It looks like they had large cities and tribes after the flood.
Yeah. Okay, and we're about to end this, but it's one other thing that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, chapter 11.
Chapter 11, and I actually did do a slight bit of research on this.
Yeah.
Now, like I say, please don't take my word for it. Please go and do your own research. Go straight to the source. Read your own Bible, and before we make this last point, and then we're going to go ahead and end out on our last segment. We like to read for ourselves, and then we're reading from the Bible, the ultimate source, and then we'll go, and I found some stuff on Britannica, and there's some other things that I'll mention towards the end of this, but it's very imperative that we have this conversation open-mindedly, in a way where nobody's necessarily nobody's going to be penalized for sharing an opinion that is perhaps unpopular, but we're just all reading together. So we encourage you and welcome you to come along and read with us. On this last note, there was a point in Genesis 11 in Babel, which I believe, I guess it's now Babel, or
the Tower
of Babylon.
Yeah.
The Tower of Babel. So the story of that is that the folks in Babel were, let's build a city for ourselves and a tower whose top will reach into the heavens and make a famous name for ourselves, right? So that we will not be scattered and dispersed over the surface of the earth as the Lord instructed. So what's interesting about this is these people, they wanted to make a tower that's going to reach the heavens. And in the next verse, the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people and they all have the same language. This is only the beginning of what they'll do. And now no evil thing they can imagine they can do will be impossible for them." And so what he did was he said, "Come, let us go down there and confuse and mix up their language so that they will not understand one another's speech." So I went and looked that up, and basically it's God had commanded, I think somewhere I don't know when, but he had previously commanded that they disperse and kind of have their own separate. So here's what happens. When they start trying to build this tower in Babel, or the Tower of Babel, God realized, or says, right, these people are all speaking the same language, and so they're kind of doing this thing, and if they do this all in unison, then they're going to be able to do all the evil things, you know what I'm saying, that they want to do.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, what does it mean to mix up the languages, right? I took it literally, but then I was like, okay, but what if I'm wrong? So I went and looked at it, and this is actually what I found in my research from Britannica, is that, here's what Britannica says: God disrupted the work of the tower building by confusing the language of the workers, that they could no longer understand one another.
Yeah.
So I thought what was interesting about that is, I guess that's when all of the different languages became. Right, so you speak Chinese, you speak English, you speak German, like wherever you are. But I'm assuming that's what happened. But I also took it kind of figuratively because in that same statement where God has kind of mentioned that you're working in unison, there's not going to be anything you can't do if you work together.
Yeah.
Right? And look at how divided we kind of are present day. Yeah. Where it's almost like we're not speaking the same language, even in America, where we are kind of on different sides of the fence on so many issues, and where it's just almost like there are times where it seems like you can't even converse with the other side. It's like you just are not speaking the same language. Or like when we talked about, me and you had a conversation the other day about the critical race theory kind of thing, where the people who are against critical race theory and the people who are for critical race theory are almost speaking from two different languages because they just can't understand and work together with one another. So I thought that was an interesting piece where God in the Bible came down to confuse the languages so that because he said that if they will work together in unison, there's nothing they couldn't do.
Yeah. So in my Bible, it said that it says humans were creating bricks, a word that contains a sound sequence, IB in the Hebrew, to rebel against God. So in response, God created confusion, a Hebrew word containing NBL, to reverse the human plot. And it says the name Babel here is the same Hebrew word translated Babylon. The connection between the words Babel and confused constitute another of many wordplays in this chapter. The Lord's action had two positive outcomes. First, because it confused the language of all the earth, it ended the possibility of a large-scale evil ventures. Second, it caused humanity to scatter all over the face of the earth, thus bringing people into compliance with God's commands to fill the earth.
Right.
So I think that could have been the moment in time where it was. I don't want to say this. Listen, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to be like this is a fact, but it's saying in the Bible, I think when he says confused, I think that's when the different languages and the dialect came in. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, guys, you need to separate anyway. Because why are you trying to build a tower together?
Why are you trying to build that? Well, it said in there that they were trying to make a name for themselves.
And also, this I believe. I think we'll read this later, but this is going to come up again. I think
it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that'll probably get more in depth of what they were really trying to.
Yeah, probably because I even saw, and you mentioned it just now. The word Babel spelled differently. Yeah, it means confusion, right? When you think about somebody babbling or whatever, it's just a bunch of stuff that you can't really understand.
Blah, blah, like what? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So okay, that was a great first reading. We had a great time reading it. It was very interesting. We actually got a little bit into Job, which was scary. If you want to first of all, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe.
Comment too.
Comment. We want you to comment whatever you like, but we would love to hear what your thoughts are about these verses. We would love to just have a conversation. You can follow us everywhere. Is It Crazy or Is It God? We'll have our links. Yep. If you want to know what we're reading next, you want to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. Yep. We're on, I don't know if we're on TikTok, but we'll see.
TikTok, maybe.
So wherever you are, you want us to be, comment that down below too. And like we always say, don't take our word for it. Go straight to the source. Yep. With that said, I do want to shout out a couple of people, though. A couple of just useful sort of like tools and resources. Yep. So one of the things that we do is we are going from a reading plan. So there's this website called Teach. Where is it? teachsundayschool.com. And there you can download a bunch of printables. They have Bible breakdowns. They have reading checklists. They have reading plans. There's so many different versions of it. So this isn't sponsored or anything like that. I just want to give them a shout out because I really find their materials very useful as we're going on this journey of reading the Bible. And this is one of their, I don't know if you could do it. If you're listening, you can't see it, but I just showed a version of one of their printables. But just want to shout them out. Also online, I always go to Bible Gateway. Bible Gateway is my favorite sort of like source from if I'm looking up a quick verse, or if I'm trying to search something. Like, I'll go to Bible Gateway because I can see all of the different translations of the Bible, and it's really fun to just be able to have those sources. And so, did you have anybody you wanted to shout out?
Maybe the Holmen Study Bible, New King James Version. That's kind of it.
Why do you like it?
Oh, because it's in color. It's like, no, okay. Well, because...
Hey, that's a good reason.
Yeah. So, I grew up reading the King James Version. And the New King James Version kind of breaks it down. Also, you might see me read out of this, too. This is the English Standard Version. So, it kind of breaks it down.
Who makes that?
Just a little bit more. Shout out to...
I don't even know. It doesn't even say. We got it from Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to find it. I'll link it below. Crossway,
yeah. So this is a good...
I like Holmen. Holmen is solid. We have a couple of different versions from Holmen. Yeah. I think we have a King James Study Bible from Holmen,
We have a chronological one.
Well, that's not a Holmen. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm breaking that out.
We'll break that out. I like this one too because it has the maps.
Yep.
And it does have it in color.
And it breaks
those
it down.
breakdowns at the bottom.
The breakdowns at the bottom. So, like, my English Standard Version doesn't have the breakdown. Yeah. So, for those who read the Bible, and some King James Version sometimes is a little bit... sometimes I'm reading it, I have to look it up. Words. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I've never heard this word ever in my life. And it'll be like an old English word that people don't use anymore.
Right.
So sometimes you gotta look it up. So the study Bible is good to reference, just like with the Bible, like how it just broke it down. So that's the good thing about having the study edition. Well,
as usual, I enjoy speaking with you and discussing things with you, especially the Word of God. And so we just want to, again, end out and just let you guys know we would encourage you to read the Bible yourself. We definitely encourage you to join our community and listen to us. We'll be breaking it down for you from our interpretation, and we're going to just, keep showing up and see what's next.
Learning. So that's what it's about.
Yeah. So thanks, y'all, for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode of Is It Crazy or Is It God?
All right, guys. Peace.
Signing out. Peace.